Okay, Devon, did you know that North Korea exports things?
Um, I didn't know it, but I figured
Mm,
it specifically to perhaps a country by the name of China or another country by the name of Russia, perhaps, especially in recent
yes,
years. But I can't say I've thought about it too deeply.
me as well. This was, to be honest, news to me. To give some context on how I thought about this topic, I was playing Tradle, which you're familiar with a few mutual friends of ours. Which, for those who don't know, is this online game where you're given the exports of a specific country without being told which it is. And then you have to decipher which country it is based on the types of things that they export, their total like export valuation. Super nerdy.
Mm.
But
Yeah, and to visualize it, it's one of those kind of graphs where it's like a box plot, and in each
mhm,
box it'll have different sectors and what they export. Like if it's agriculture, it'll be like 3% grapes, and yeah, you can kind of visualize it from
exactly.
there, I guess.
Yeah. And to be entirely honest, we were blown away about what exactly North Korea exports. And secondly, we were blown away about what their most dominant export is. Their number one export, which I think will serve as a good little hook for this episode. Uh, so, yeah, we're going to chat a little bit about North Korea's trade relations and the history of it very briefly. But we're also going to be playing a bit of a reverse trail with you. How does that sound?
With me or with the audience?
Well, you're the only one here that will respond to my questions.
I don't
So
know. I thought it was
you
going to be some. Okay, I had no idea what you were cooking. Okay, but cool.
we've
Reverse
we've put up
Tradle
an
with me.
interactive poll for our listeners to interact with in
And it
this episode.
displays in real time, even though they're watching in the future. Yeah, yeah. Maybe in the future, if we do a live podcast, we can do something like that, I guess.
that that sounds actually unironically a good idea. No, but with you specifically, but all the audience can play at home and think about, okay, this is, what would they export? But yeah, until then, let's roll the intro and hop right into it. Okay, so North Korea trades? Question mark. Uh, Surprisingly so, at least to me. North Korea does trade with the rest of the world, excluding China and Russia as well. Although, you know, I think with everyone nowadays, China is their biggest trading partner. But maybe that's not a big revelation to some people that North Korea trades. But up until now, in my brain, North Korea sat in a corner and over it was this big, like, sign that said sanctions. And like you, I didn't really think past that or look past that. But things will surprise you. And outside of China, they actually trade with quite a few individuals: Senegal, Poland, Angola, Austria, and South Africa, apparently, which I
Okay.
had not heard about as well. Um, this is all data from OEC, who actually does the Tradle game, but they also compile data from kind of like countries' trade balances to get the trade data of what exports and imports each country has. But for those of you, dear listeners, who were in the same North Korea doesn't have any trade relations boat that I was, you may be asking yourself how that's possible, considering, at least from what I know, all the sanctions that many countries all over the world have placed upon them. So we're going to unpack that a little bit and take a deep dive into their history. But yeah, any other comments? The South Africa thing, did that surprise you? That was news to me, certainly.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. We are kind of playing both sides, South Africa speaking, right? This new rise of kind of BRICS becoming this coalition of developing nations has kind of evolved, and I'm not going to weigh in, but it has evolved into this kind of force against the West and the US and like Europe, right? So, but we're at the tip of Africa, bottom of Africa, and we're kind of playing both sides. We're appeasing both, trying to get both, and you could argue it has been working and it hasn't, because kind of get the ire from both, but we also kind of get some of the benefits. In recent times, at least, the US hasn't been happy with us. But
Yeah.
let me get to my point, is that we kind of have a relation with the East, the Chinas, the Russias, we have, had relations with them. I know, like, in the past, there's been talks of perhaps them like coming and building nuclear power plants and numerous other projects, which I'm sure they have their hands in as well. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. But it's not like I knew of it. It's not like I knew North Korea was sending us tobacco or something. I've been trying to think of what North Korea could be exporting, and
Yeah,
tobacco is the one that's in my head, as well as like munitions, I suppose. But
sure,
but
sure,
any, I'm
sure.
sure we'll get to that. But I'm not surprised. That's it.
Yeah, I want you to stew on what your thoughts are on what North Korea trades, because you're gonna be put on the spot a little bit later on,
Yes,
and
I can imagine. Wait. Okay,
but to your
you keep chatting. I'll think.
yeah, but to your point, I think a big role model in terms of the BRICS nations for playing both sides uh, with South Africa is probably India as well. I know they like to play not both sides, I think all sides in terms of who they're trading with. Um, but very good point. It surprised me because I was like, also, what is North Korea exporting to us? But when we get around to it, you'll be like, oh, that makes total sense. But yeah, so let's fly back in time a little bit and go to the 1960s and 70s. During this time, North Korea was part of, it was allied with the kind of uh, the Eastern Bloc, so the USSR, China, and a few other countries. Uh, but they were actually trying to build trade relations with the rest of the world. And as I said, they were largely trading with these communist allies, but they actually had tried to broaden their trade partnerships with South America, Africa, a few other Asian countries. And although it wasn't super fruitful, they did have some trade between them. Also, during this time, in the 70s, I think, they tried to trade with some Western countries as well. And I stumbled across this news story from Voice of America that talks about this famous deal in 1974 where North Korea imported 1,000 Volvo sedans from Sweden as part of a $131 million trade package. But they were bought on credit, and for whatever reason, North Korea never paid them back.
I think
And
I heard about this.
really,
Yes. Yeah, like a vague recollection of this. Yes, yes, yes. It's like this grand symbolic gesture that North Korea kind of left the table, right?
yeah,
Something like
yeah.
that.
I don't know the actual specific reason why. I think during the time as well, they had quite a bit of debt accumulating. But that Swedish trade has slowly accumulated interest and is worth about $320 million today, according to the Swedish Foreign Ministry. So they have a bit of a bill to pay. Um, but time passed, and in the 80s and 90s, North Korea's trading record had a bit of a roller coaster. As I said, they'd accumulated several kind of foreign trade debts, and one of their biggest trading partners, the Soviet Union, had collapsed. But they did start gaining a trading niche, I suppose, by, as you said earlier, trading weaponry, and had a fairly amicable trade relationship at the time with South Korea. There was this sunshine policy where North Korea and South Korea tried to rebuild their relationship a little bit. And there were a lot of factories in South Korea that employed North Korean workers for a time. And for a couple of decades, it seemed to be on the mend from the Soviet collapse. But by the 2000s, and definitely the 2010s, which is why I think I have this conception of sanctions and everything, a very missile forward approach, Kim Jong un had angered quite a few countries, including the US, who, using their own soft power, forbid all trade with the People's Republic. In response, though, North Korea had tried to do everything within its power to skirt around this and evasively try to still trade and essentially earn money from other countries. I read a few articles. They have varying reputations, so I'm not quite sure the legitimacy of this. But apparently, 100,000 North Koreans are working overseas in places like China and Russia, and their wages are garnished by North Korea, so much so that they bring in about $500 million from North Korea every single year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Uh, but I'm a bit iffy on the truth to that.
Sure.
Listeners, if you have any other comments on that, do let me know. There were some reputable sources, but they all seem to get their information from a non-reputable one. So I'm like, that's difficult to balance in my brain.
Sure.
But while illegal trade, this things with like labor force and likely their weaponry, is very rampant, the very legal trade between North Korea and China is well within the public eye, so much so that we have data on it. Because after completely shutting itself off during the pandemic, I didn't know this, but North Korea was one of those places that for 2 years during 2020 and 2022, they had completely shut themselves off to not only trade, but everything, even with China.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, crazy. And after that, Beijing and Pyongyang had essentially found it mutually beneficial to resume trade between themselves. And so today, China supplies North Korea with some goods that it desperately needs, including factories and capital, as well as just general goods for their people, while North Korea provides them with a few things that China needs as well. So it's this interesting kind of relationship there that plays likely, so and so on the global stage from a political standpoint. But, we're not here to talk about that. But even outside of China, trade sanctions don't impede some goods that North Korea exports, as well as some countries from trading with North Korea. Some countries just don't really care. And that's what we're going to be using as the base of our little reverse Tradle game. So as I said, this is all using 2023 data from the Observatory of Economic Complexity.
Is
And
that what OEC
yeah,
stands for? Okay.
that is what OEC stands for, yeah.
Pretty cool name. Pretty cool name.
I have the top 10 exports for North Korea. I'm going to give you the first five, the bottom five, and we're going to
Okay.
play a guessing game for the top five because
Gotcha.
it'll be a little bit quicker as well, but also the bottom five give a little bit of context to the top five.
Okay.
So, yeah. But before we dive in, that's a lot of history that I've thrown at you. Any overall thoughts on that?
No. No. I don't know much world history. I did have two questions though. When did the kind of South Korean, North Korea war take place in context to what you've been speaking about? Because you started your conversation in the 1970s, right? And how kind of North Korean relations from that starting point after this Swedish Volvo deal kind of deteriorated, right? Until kind of like 2010, and then bam, everyone doesn't really like them even more. When did that Korean War take place? Just just
That's a
just for
great
my
question.
knowledge, I'm not too sure.
I think it's
I don't know if that's worth
around
a quick
that
Google.
time. I think it definitely is, instead of me just making it up. It was in the 50s, 53. 50 to
Okay, okay.
53.
So some time had passed, and North Korea was kind of like opening itself up to the global stage. Okay, cool. Then
Yes.
secondly, what is North Korea's population right now? What's their estimate on their population? I'm making you Google so much.
That is totally fine. That's an excellent question. 26 million, more or less.
Okay, okay, okay.
South Korea, for reference, is 51 million.
With a declining birth rate, and everyone's kind of very
Yeah,
scared.
I
Okay.
do. I wonder if North Korea has a declining birth rate. That's an interesting question to pose.
Yeah, well, I would think it's unlikely. It's only when countries really get first world and very wealthy do people not want to produce offspring. I mean, at least that's the global trend, right? So I think they're
Yeah,
fine. I think they got a good enough birth rate, I would think.
I think they have bigger problems, to be honest.
They got some bigger problems. But okay, okay. No, I had no other questions other than that. I'm ready.
No, that's a very salient point though, because the North Korean War was uh, a big kind of foundationary pillar to like all this setting up. I also was like, I think it was, yeah, before the 60s, but I wasn't entirely sure. It surprised me that it was only 3 years, because I don't know if you've seen that graph where like it shows how um
The troop
how
placements
intense.
in
Yeah.
um, the territory of South Korea and North Korea, rather, like how it got
Yes.
reinforced by like Chinese and like yeah, yeah, yeah. I do remember
And
that,
more
and the US kind of
specifically,
joined.
exactly, that there were points in the war where it almost looked like, oh, the like communists are going to completely take over Korea, and then there was points where the allies were like,
We're gonna
damn,
take it over
this is
completely. Yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
then
It was very
yeah,
back and forth. I remember thinking that as well. Like, oh, the world would have completely changed if this went a little differently, right?
absolutely. I'm sure there's plenty of like alternate history YouTube videos about that. But okay, so let's just hop right into it. Let's play a little
Okay, yeah. Give me
a
give
reverse Tradle.
me yes, give me a reverse Tradle here.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you the dollar figure, as in like the net amount that this export is worth. And then for a few of these, I've also explained what they are, because I was looking at them and I'm like, I don't understand what exactly this is. And I have a few nuggets about some interesting things. So at 10th place, we have carbides with a export worth of 5.39 million. Vince, what is a carbide? Great question. Uh, calcium carbide, specifically in this case, is what I think they mainly export, uh, is used for welding as well as kind of like a precursor for chemical manufacturing. Um, Apparently, North Korea has kind of a fairly sophisticated synthetic fiber industry, and so it relies on certain chemicals derived from calcium carbide, but they also have enough to export this.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
carbide.
Mm-hmm.
Then at ninth place, we have float glass at 6.09 million. Vince, what is float glass?
There's going to be a theme here. Yeah.
So float glass is essentially just what they use for windows in architecture. That's like the basic idea about it. And it can be clear or tinted or whatever. But apparently North Korea has uh, it has a very kind of cute name. It's called the Taeyin Friendship Glass Factory that China helped them build in 2005. And so they actually have like fairly sophisticated modern float glass
That's
manufacturing
cute.
facilities. Yeah, the Taeyin Friendship Glass facility or
Hmm.
factory. I'm sure nothing horrible goes on there. Um, in seventh place, we have electric generating sets at 6.35 million. So, electric generating sets are everything that you can imagine that generates electricity, specifically things like diesel generators and stuff. And this is where the South African connection comes into play. Because according to the OEC data, almost all of these electrical generating sets are bought by South Africa, which
Load shedding.
makes sense. Yeah, for those of our dear listeners who are unaware, South Africa has a big kind of electrical infrastructure issue, or at least ongoing, where we don't have enough electricity. And so many times we are buying new generators or fixing ones that are broken. And at least in my brain, and in likely your brain, it makes sense that we're importing this. Maybe not as much that is from North Korea, maybe it's just cheaper. But that was a connection that made sense. Also, at this point, it struck me that, like, okay, I know North Korea as well has issues with their own electricity, but they have capacity enough to make electric generating sets that they sell to other people. That seems like a bit of a contradiction. And we might come back to that later. But in sixth, we have molybdenum ore at $7.17 million. Do you want to say it with me, Devon? Vince, what is molybdenum?
molybdenum ore? Episode of Dora the Explorer here.
Yeah. Great question. So it's apparently used to make, it's like an alloying element for steel and other super alloys. And North Korea is naturally endowed with a lot of deposits for this particular ore. And so they have a place with a quite concerning name, the March 5 Youth Mine, that produces this ore. I hope not a lot of youth are in that ore
That
or
is
in that mine.
that could literally be a card in Cards Against Humanity. A youth
Yeah.
mine is just so awful. It's funny. That is
Yeah. Well,
okay.
apparently the youth, they yearn for the mines.
They
So
in for the mines. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Feel bad for laughing at that one.
yeah, no, that's but they use that to produce the ore. And then in fifth place, so this is your last gimme, they have refined petroleum at $9.95 million. So also kind of counterintuitive in my brain, because it's like, okay, they have fuel shortages and electricity shortages. Why are they exporting a lot of this? But apparently they have the Pongwa chemical factory, which processes enough crude oil for it to be exported to places like China and Russia. Okay, you have those five, but the top five exports in North Korea are yours to guess.
Okay.
At fifth place, what is your best guess? And I can give you a little clue, a bit of a clue if you're struggling.
Okay, let's piece it all together. You've given me 5.
Mm-hmm.
2 of which have been natural resources, some kind of ore, correct? One of which
Correct.
has been kind of some chemical compound. One has
Mm-hmm.
been generators, and the other one has been glass. So I think the overall theme here is it's going to be either chemically inclined, resource inclined, or a combination. Okay. So my mind is heading somewhere. They export some kind of rather scarce chemical that's needed in some kind of manufacturing process. I don't know if
Okay.
that's fifth. My cousin is a PhD chemist. Maybe he would have an idea, but I certainly don't. But I'm going to say some kind of formaldehyde solution, Project X, as number 5. That's my guess. Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
Um, number
Hurts.
5, the fifth most exported thing that North Korea trades to other countries is cars.
Oh,
Specifically, $16.9 million worth of cars in 2023, at least.
That is not a lot of
Uh,
cars. That's not a lot.
it's not a lot of cars.
That's like,
Uh,
how many cars are we talking? That's like 2,000 cars or something. Like, that's not a lot of cars, right?
it
Trying to
is
run the
it is not
numbers
a
in
lot
my
of
head.
cars. North Korea does have a very small domestic automotive industry. There are two main vehicle manufacturers, the Pyeonghwa Motors, as well as the oldest one, Sungri Motor Plant. They mainly make cars using kind of old knockdown kits from China, as well as designs from like Fiat. I think the Pyeonghwa Motors, like their main factory, on the point that you just mentioned here, has the capacity to produce about like 10,000 cars a year, but they rarely meet that. I think last I saw they produced like 1,000 or 2,000. So you were right
Okay.
on the money with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So
Okay, let me. I'm overthinking it. Clearly, I'm overthinking it. Let's just think of things that people need, and I'll say them, and that's probably going to be a good shout.
yeah,
So
according to
I'm
the
gonna.
OEC, they actually export these cars to like Senegal, Angola, a lot of African countries. So maybe just for their
I bet you they're just
relative.
like tiny little pickup trucks or something
I
like
think
that.
so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Number
Four.
four,
I'm gonna back to basics. Textiles, clothing.
textiles
Not.
clothing.
I'm just gonna say clothing. I'm not gonna say the textiles to manufacture clothing like cotton or something. Let's say
Mm,
clothing. They export a lot of clothing.
clothing. Eh,
Okay.
unfortunately,
Well, oh, is it?
you can ask me for clues. If you're feeling like you're out in the dark, then
Okay, give me a clue
you
with this one. Give me a clue with this one.
okay. I'll say this one is has a base in the five that we discussed before, mainly because it's a product of one of the things. Like there's this thing, and then this is the thing that it generates.
Um,
I'll say it also
can you tell
is
me which
related
one?
to South Africa a little bit.
Is it the power? Okay, okay. It's the generators then. Okay.
It's the generators.
So what would be the natural progression of that one? Batteries. There we go. Batteries.
Excellent guess,
There
but
we go.
still wrong, unfortunately.
Okay. You wagged your finger like I got it right.
Ooh,
That's naughty.
but you were close. You were close. It's
Okay.
electricity at
Oh, it's actually
$22 million.
it's actually the one it produces. Okay.
Literally, yeah.
Where do they export
And
it to?
so mainly China, like a billion% China. When you click on electricity in the OEC, it's just all China.
Okay.
um, but yeah, despite their own chronic power shortages, North Korea has the ability to export electricity, it seems. They have a hydroelectric dam on the Yalu River that borders between North Korea and China. And so that produces electricity that is shared between them. And so it shares its power to the Chinese grid. And I was like, again, this is quite strange that they have their own shortage issues, but they export it. But then again, I was like, South Africa does the exact same thing, where we export a lot of our electricity to, I think it's Zimbabwe,
Mm,
um, despite our own load shedding
issues.
woes, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's just more
Okay.
profitable.
Four, electricity. I'm gonna
Four
get
is
all of these
electricity.
wrong.
Three, I think
Have I
I'll
gotten
okay.
close to any? Have I gotten close to any? Am I even
You've
on?
this this was in your thought process, I think. Um, for this one, I'll just give a hint that this is not a process thing. This is a raw material.
This is a raw material.
Mhm.
I'm going to say lumber. Lumber. Wood.
Mm. So, wrong again, unfortunately.
I'm used to this now.
So it is tungsten ore at
Oh,
25.9
it's
million.
impossible. How was it? I can't remember all of these
If you
ores
had said
and raw
some type of
materials.
ore, I would have given it to
Oh,
you. But you went
damn it.
strictly with lumber. Uh,
Okay.
so North Korea is naturally rich in tungsten, apparently. Uh, their largest tungsten mine is the Manyon mine in the North Honghae province. This one doesn't have a funny, like, kind of ironic name, but Manyo does mean 10,000 years, which kind of alludes to the fact that this tungsten mine is rich with ore,
10,000
and
years
so
worth of ore. Okay.
yeah, that's quite cool. And yeah, in 2024, they mined about 1.7, sorry, 1,700 metric tons of tungsten, which actually makes it one of the top producers after China,
Oh, wow.
which was
Okay.
also a fun
Okay.
fact.
So they're at the top of the
Um,
tungsten game, kind of globally.
a
That's
little bit. And this is actually a unique, like all the materials or exports that we're going to be chatting about from here on, including tungsten, were not explicitly banned under the United Nations sanctions on North Korea's exports. So they're actually allowed to export tungsten ore to places other than China. Um,
right.
and so they've ramped up their tungsten like processing and mining facilities, and they were, you know, a leading producer, and that's why this is their third largest export.
Okay. As a brief sidetrack, does the
Mhm.
US import anything from North Korea? Like, just as you concluded, like tungsten might be one. Does it? Is
I
it just
don't
that they had all?
I don't think so. I'm visualizing the OEC data that this is based on, and it is like China, a few other nations, but the US is like nowhere in that
In the top
diagram.
2050.
So
Okay, got you.
either it is like a very minuscule amount for a specific thing or not at all,
Okay.
is my best guess. Okay.
What am I
Second,
on? Tobacco. Trust my gut. Tobacco.
tobacco.
Bang, bang.
Lock, locking it in.
Locked in. It has to be. It has to be.
Uh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry to say, it is actually ferroalloys at 33.3 million.
Cool. I know what those
uh,
are.
so ferroalloys, I don't know what they were either. They are alloys of iron mixed with other elements that are apparently used to make steel, or at least used in steel making to introduce like specific properties and stuff like that. Again, with the materials that we've mentioned prior, North Korea has the ability to produce these ferroalloys. Apparently, ferrosilicon is like the main one that they produce. They also have large deposits of coal and silica quartz for the silicon, and so they can like quite actively produce this. It also helps, as I said before, that the US doesn't include ferroalloys in its banned products, so North Korea can still trade this. Um, so that's number two.
That was a bunch
Now,
of
before you
boring
guess number
mumbo
one,
jumbo. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
they're just ferroalloys.
I just
It's
wanted to bash you for being nerding out about ferro alloys. Like, I don't know. I just felt to be.
I
I've been bullied for the past four guesses. I have to strike back.
this one is worth for this one, the number one export is worth all the marbles though, and I want to put this into context. The second largest export, ferroalloys, is 33.3 million. The number one export is worth $167 million.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it blows all of these out of proportion.
So we're
Um,
basically timesing it by five. It's easily their largest export.
this is worth all the marbles, so I'm going to give you a few hints here. Like
Please.
you've been getting it
Please.
wrong up until now,
Okay,
and
I can do this.
to save the show, you need to get this one right. I'll say this much. Nothing that I mentioned up until now has any relevance to this material in
That's bad.
any way at all. Okay, second clue. The main, I suppose, reason that this is so popular is because it is like labor intensive. And North Korea has some horrible labor conditions. So they can produce this exquisitely cheaply. Thirdly, it is a export that is this might okay. Just based on that, tell me what you're thinking, and I'll bank
It's
the third clue.
impossible. It's
It's
impossible. It's impossible. I don't know what I'm doing. Um,
okay. It is fashion
ex-
related, is
it's
my third
fashion
clue.
related.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it must be. I don't. It's clearly not like clothing. It must be something. See, dude, I'm in retail. I've started a job in retail. I'm learning. This is the point in my life where I know the most about clothing and textiles and fabrics.
It's not clothing. I'll tell you that
It's
much.
not clothing,
No.
but it's in. But you said it's clothing related, correct?
It's fashion related, is
It's
what I said.
fashion related.
Yeah.
Do they like club a lot of seals or something? Like,
Oh my god.
I don't have my brain.
$167 million worth of club seals.
That's
Is that what
like
you're proposing?
no. I'm just fishing for clues, basically.
It
It's
is fashion related.
fashion
It
related.
is not clothing. It's not makeup either. It is to do with
Ooh,
I mean, yeah.
you can't give it to me. I know it's fashion related, not clothing, not makeup. Um, no, it wouldn't be hats. Like moisturizing creams, that doesn't really count as fashion related. Um, you said they have petroleum.
They do have petroleum, yeah. Or at least they have the refining processes for
It's
petroleum.
actually it's so doomed. I can't get it. I'm gonna ruin the podcast. I'm gonna ruin the podcast by not getting this.
You gotta
It
delete our channel
is
if you don't get this right.
it is nothing's popping into my head. One more clue. Come, you gotta give me one more clue. It's like this is 30 seconds. Come, just
Um, let me think on that a second. Okay, I'm not going to think on it too long. I'll just say that it is something that I can't grow. Uh,
does it involve beards? Is it beard oil? Is it um have you grown a beard? I don't think so. Something you
unable to.
can't grow.
Yeah.
Okay, it is beard oil locked in. They
Beard oil
they
locked
sell
in.
$160 million worth of beard,
Beard oil.
beard.
they they're supplying Manscaped. They're
That's,
supplying all these kind of male. I mean,
you can't grow it. That's all I could think of. I'm sorry. I'm
North
sorry.
Korea's number one export is fake hair. $167 million of fake hair,
Like
which
wigs, like to be used for wigs.
encompasses wigs, hairpieces, false beards, and eyelashes made from both human and synthetic hair. Can you believe that? 167 million!
That is wild. If I get any hate for not being able to guess that, I will be really mad. Because that's impossible.
That's impossible.
That's how can you ever predict that? That's
No,
so
that
funny
is.
though. That is so funny.
When I saw this in the Tradle, I was like, I need to make an episode on this. because it's not only a strange thing to have as your top export, but the fact that it blows like the next, like literally the top set, like it
It,
outclasses the other nine
in
quite
totality.
tidily. Yeah,
Mm.
this is North Korea's number one export by a wide margin. And it comes down to a combination of cheap, skilled labor and sanctions exceptions. Because kind of light industrial goods like wigs and false eyelashes and beards and stuff are not sanctioned by the United Nations, which allows North Korea to make a bunch of factories to trade them and make them legitimately. And so North Korea has capitalized on this and massively scaled up its wig and like cosmetic hair industry in recent years. And according to the Chinese custom data, which the OEC bases its things off of, they produce about 1,680 tons of false hair, which nets about 60% of its total exports. And nearly all of it, surprisingly, is shipped to China, of all places.
Wow.
And I wonder as well, when I was researching this, if there's this kind of thing where they export it to China on the cheap, and then China can export it even further, labeling it as a Chinese produced good.
Yeah.
Maybe by just like adding something, and then through Temu and these other kind of like fast fashion websites, they export it to the rest of the world or something like that.
Did you just call Temu Temu?
Maybe.
Temu.
Wait, what did you say?
Temu. Everyone calls it Temu.
What did I say?
You said Temu.
Maybe that's the Hungarian pronunciation. I've been too.
We need a
in the
replay
weeds.
on that. Maybe I'm going a bit crazy. Okay.
No, I think I did say Temu. Temu.
I'm sorry, I'm derailing you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're on a roll. I just feel like I need to add something to the episode. I'm failed.
No problem. No problem. But yeah, so North Korean workers, often at very low wages, manufacture these wigs, extensions, eyelashes, and yeah, the finished goods are sent to China, and they are usually probably labeled as originating from China, but a lot of the value add is made from North Korea. So that to me was absolutely crazy. Fake hair, of all things to export, is not something that was on any of my
Yeah.
bingo cards,
Yeah.
and neither on yours. So we'll
That
see.
that is that is a cool little fact to have in the back pocket. You know, here is this North Korea that tries to project might and display its
Mm-hmm.
military prowess, but their biggest export, people, fake hair, fake hair. Never forget it.
Yeah, I. It's there's a lot of issues with it. Obviously, like these people are not treated well. All
Yeah.
I think North Korean citizens are in this kind of fight or flight mode, uh,
I
and
wonder if
we're not.
it's. I wonder. Sorry. I wonder if it's. Sorry. You were going on this deep tangent about like it's probably awful, and it is. Don't get me wrong.
I.
I wonder
I
if it's mandatory
mhm.
that they have to like give some hair to the factory, like as a tribute. Like once a month, they gotta like because you said they do both like natural and synthetic, right?
Right, right, right.
That would be
So
pretty
it's like a
funny.
little.
Tax collectors come and like cut people's hair off.
We need your 3 inches this month.
Yeah, yeah. You get like a higher place in society if your hair grows a bit faster than your next door neighbors.
The model North
Oh,
Korean citizen needs a
oh
haircut
no.
every 2 weeks, basically.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah, I mean, this isn't capturing all the illegal trade that we don't have data for, like
Yes.
weapons that North Korea still does. But in my brain, there's this silly thought where like North Korea, they're building all sorts of artillery and missiles, and there's this dictatorship that's horrible, but their like entire economy is is built upon this foundation of fake hair. That's what's driving them forward, which was, I don't know. It's so unique.
Oh, that it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
All right.
That's terrific. Oh,
I I had a lot of fun with this. Any last thoughts before I recap and end off the episode for this?
No, I'm sorry to anyone listening, to anyone watching. I failed, and I can't entirely say where I went wrong. And
I
that's the
think
worst part.
I don't think it was entirely your fault. I think this was a rigged game to begin with.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
you
I
screwed
don't know if
me.
my
No,
clues
you definitely did.
were that helpful, to be honest. But yeah, I let us know, viewers. Leave a comment down below how you did. Did you guess any of these correctly? Did you know that fake hair kind of props up uh, a lot of North Korea's economy? Yeah, and while you're there, drop us a like, subscribe, give us a bit of a beautifully written review on how this podcast has made you learn something you didn't know before. And yeah, just to recap everything, North Korea, their main export is fake hair. They do some other stuff with like mining and refining, but it's mainly just fake hair, is what we've learned today. Um,
As ridiculous as it sounds, it's true, people. It's true.
it is true.
And maybe if you leave a like, we'll wear some of their fake hair next episode. Give them a
I don't,
product review. No, we won't do that.
I
Oh,
don't think
okay,
I
okay.
don't think I want to support the regime like that. But maybe if we get enough likes, I don't know if we can be bought out like that, but we'll figure something out. I don't know. Okay. Until next time, thank you for listening, and we're hoping to catch you in the next one. As always, I've been Vince Bullock, joined by,
Devon Murphy.
and we'll see you next time. Bye
Yep.
bye.